of Eastern Shore welcome to our next governor, Larry Hogan.
Well, thank you very, very much. What a wonderful Eastern Shore welcome. I got to tell you, I was completely, flabbergasted when I pulled in this parking lot and I saw these cars and I came in this room and they tell me we have 1,500 people here. Thank you all so much for coming out here today. It means so much to me. Now, I got a few people I want to thank. First of all, the guy whose idea this was, Charlie Evans. Charlie, thank you so much. Martin Tolley, Libby Nagel, Wendy Hershey, and everyone else, the guys that are out there, the frying the chicken and the fish and the people that are steaming the crabs, everybody that had anything to do with this, I want to give them a huge round of applause. I want to thank the folks that purchased the tables and bought the tickets, and I want to thank each and every one of you for being here today. It sure means a lot to me, so thank you all. Give yourselves a big round of applause. And I could not be more proud. I'm standing here in front of this tremendous Eastern Shore team that you have representing you, that's going to represent you in Annapolis. Together with them, we're going to bring fiscal responsibility, common sense, integrity, and honesty to Annapolis. Give a round of applause for all this great group of people. And I'm so proud that we have the opportunity to have some very special guests with us today that deserve a very special thank you for their service and their sacrifice. Please give a big round of applause to our heroes here today, our wounded warriors that have joined us. Thank you guys for everything, for your service, for your sacrifice. That was a nice recognition of them. We're really happy to have them as our guests. Now, how would you like to have a lieutenant governor that understands your issues? We've got the former assistant secretary of the Department of Agriculture, my good friend and the next lieutenant governor of the state of Maryland, Boyd Rutherford. Yeah! And there's this little lady standing behind me, my beautiful wife Yumi, who grew up on a small chicken farm, and she understands your issues. The next First Lady of the state of Maryland, Yumi Hogan. Now, folks, I'm not a professional politician. I'm just a small businessman and a lifelong Marylander who loves this state. I'm running because I'm completely fed up with politics as usual in Annapolis, and I think it's about time that we all stand up together and fight back for a change. Yeah! I got some very exciting news. Just yesterday was very, very proud to have received the endorsement of the Maryland Farm Bureau. So how about a big round of applause to all of our farmers? I've been traveling all across the state, and I've had the opportunity to visit farms everywhere and to sit down with watermen, and I know what you're going through. If you look at this seal behind me, the Maryland State seal, there's a reason why there's a farmer and a waterman on that seal. But I think the people in Annapolis have forgotten that, don't you? You're such an important part of our history and our culture and our economy, and the folks in Annapolis have not only forgotten you, they've been mistreating you. There's been a war on rural Maryland. There's been a war on the Eastern Shore. There's been an outright assault on watermen and farmers, but it's going to end in just about 37 days from now, folks. I can promise you that. There's been a war on small businesses and struggling Maryland families. And I think it's about time for a change in Annapolis. What do you think? Now, we stood with you in the fight to stop those terrible phosphorus regs that would have killed the poultry industry and the grain industry on the shore. We stood up to the chicken tax. And you know what? I'll tell you what, in our administration, you will never have to worry about another problem like you had in the little chop tank. And you won't have another problem with somebody suing a small family farm for doing the right thing. Folks, I promise you, when I'm elected and have the honor of serving as your governor, you'll have a strong advocate in Annapolis, you'll have a friend, you'll have an open door, a seat at the table, and a sympathetic ear. And I'll tell you what, we're not going to blame farmers and watermen and the rain that falls on the roof of your house for the problems in the Chesapeake Bay. We're going to talk about the real problems, and we're going to focus on real solutions. We're going to go after the problems that are created from the Susquehanna River and the Conowingo Dam, where 43% of the sediment comes from, instead of focusing on you as the problem. Now, this current administration has tried to blame the people in this room for all the problems with the Bay. But the real problem is a little bit different. This administration has robbed $1.3 billion out of environmental trust funds, out of the Chesapeake Bay Restoration Fund, out of the Chesapeake Bay Trust. The biggest threat to the Chesapeake Bay and our environment isn't farmers and watermen, it's the O'Malley Brown administration. Folks, we've had 40 consecutive tax hikes that have taken an additional $10 billion out of the pockets of struggling Maryland families, watermen, farmers, and small businesses. It's crushed our economy. We've lost 8,000 small businesses. More than 100,000 people have lost their jobs. We've doubled unemployment. Last month, we led the nation in unemployment. We're second in the nation in foreclosures. We've had zero economic growth. And sadly, in spite of all the wonderful things we have here in Maryland, our state economy ranks 49th out of 50 states. Folks, I don't care if you're a Republican or Democrat or you're on the Eastern Shore or the Western Shore, that should simply be unacceptable to every single Marylander. I just don't think we can afford another 4 years of O'Malley Brown tax and spend politics as usual. I think it's time for a change. What do you think, folks? Now, we want to put Maryland on a new path. We're focused on helping the people in this room. We're concerned about jobs. We're concerned about struggling families and restoring our economy. And when Boyd Rutherford and I take over in January, we're going to get the government off our backs and out of our pockets so we can grow the private sector and put people back to work and turn our economy around. Does that sound like a good plan? Now, folks, for the first time since November of 2002, we have a dead heat tie in the race for governor. We have a real chance to win this race. We're working as hard as we possibly can, but we cannot do it without the help of the people in this room. With your help, we can do it. When you leave here today, we've got 1,500 yard signs out there. I want you to take a yard sign and put it in your yard. I want you to take a bumper sticker. I want you to talk to your family and friends and make sure they get out and vote, because we need every single vote on the shore. We got to turn this thing around, and we can't do it without your help, folks. It's the people in this room today who really can make the difference. And with your help, with all of us standing up and fighting back together, we're going to send a loud and clear message to those politicians in Annapolis, and then together we're going to change Maryland for the better. Thank you so much for coming today.
That concludes Hogan's remarks at the Watermen and Harvesters event in Salisbury, Maryland on the 28th.